Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be showing you how much money I make on different SaaS businesses. Today I'll be showing you one example. I'll be explaining how the customer acquisition kind of occurred, what kind of happened, and a little bit of a backstory. Some of you guys are maybe starting to watch my videos now, and essentially I do still run different SaaS businesses. You can call them micro-SAASes if you will, but definitely not to the degree that I used to. Literally, we're talking about 8 years of just hardcore grinding different products, different websites, all kinds of traffic sources. And I had all the way up to about 70 plus websites at one point in time that were bringing in income. A lot of these were blogs that then pointed to different products, right? So some of those products were micro-SaaSes. Some of those products were, different newsletters, things like that. But I advise people here specifically on SaaS, and obviously all products are the same. But I'll kind of talk about how this is. So this is a business that I started in 2019 towards the very, very tail end. And you could see here it kind of peaked in 2021 and then kind of slowly died down. Now, the most amount of income it made was a period of 33,595 in a year, okay? And if we kind of scroll down here to 2022, 14,105, 23 is $5,030. Now, let me kind of explain something. The only marketing that I did was from 2019 to 2020, okay? This is something that I typically do with most of my products that I sell. And the reason why I say this is because I don't always do the marketing. A lot of the times when you want to run a business forever and have exponential growth, you keep marketing it. But I'm the type of person where I like to diversify. Hence why I had over 70 websites at a point in time. And each website, I don't believe in having, hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in from each website, from one singular website. I'd rather have a small amount coming from each website for diversity purposes. If I want to sell a blog, for example, and that blog makes $30,000, it's a lot easier to find a customer that will be able to pay that price as opposed to selling a website for $1 million or $2 million. It's much harder to find a customer then. So what I like to do is I like to build these micro-SaaSes, if you will, or these small websites powered by larger traffic sources, which are blogs in my case, especially in this case here. And you could see kind of how it died down. Now, some people look at this as a problem, and I don't, because if I wanted to boost right up again, all I have to do is spend an extra 2-3 months of work just working on marketing the product, and that would be it. I'd effectively walk away from it, and then it would be making me money for another 4 years again. So I'll kind of explain how this works. So my product here was roughly a product that was either $100, $125, or $295, and it was a one-time payment for the year. Okay, so it's a yearly subscription, one-time payment. And I did not build this with Stripe. Stripe is just the payment processor. So I know a lot of people who build their micro-SaaSes, they kind of use Stripe built in to constantly subscribe their customers. If you notice, I don't have any subscription information in my Stripe here because I don't actually make them subscribe through Stripe. I have an internal system in my SaaSes, or in my SaaS in this case, that makes them subscribe, okay? You can see here, like I said, in 2021, 33,595. At this point in time, I wasn't doing any real marketing. It was all from 2019, the very tail end, like I said, to about maybe quarter of the way through 2020, and that was it, okay? Where I produced the income. And slowly, you could say slowly, over time, it kind of grew upwards. Most of this was done through SEO. So what is SEO? Search engine optimization. That is my marketing platform. That is my marketing campaign, if you will. Basically, you create a blog. That blog gets attention because it's being searched for on Google. You have to know what people are searching for. You create those blogs, and then that's pretty much it. If you click the link in the description, you can purchase my course on learning SEO entirely. I've taught a very, very in-depth course for people who want to learn about all things related to SEO. But it all starts off with a blog. And when you have that blog, you can sell anything through the blog. So for example, with my blog personally, I have many, many, many different websites that are blogs, and they produce an income. So I can talk about any niche, any topic. So for example, if I have a website related to health and fitness in the smoothie niche, for example, if I'm creating different smoothies and things like that, different recipe sites, different things like that, these blogs are related to the health and fitness niche. If I then create a health and fitness SaaS, I can directly connect to it. Okay, a lot of people try to do things the opposite way. They will look for what SaaS to create. Instead, look for what traffic you can create, then worry about the SaaS later. A lot of, like I said, developers and things like that are always focused on the app, the app, the app. The app is not the most important thing. The most important thing is going to be your marketing. And in my case, marketing for me is low effort, high yield. And like I said, I don't do too much work. SEO it's like a snowball effect. Do a little bit of work in the beginning, and then the results take off on their own. That's why it's called the snowball effect. When the snowball moves down the mountain, it carries more snow, it gets larger and larger and larger. So you can kind of see here, dispute activity. At one point, it was a little high in 2023, which makes sense because, less marketing at that point in time. People might think less customer support, etc. But we had a total dispute count of 10 disputes, which is really not bad. Some of you might be asking me, did you do any sales on PayPal? The answer is no. I don't do any work with PayPal ever. And I have, like I said, many, many websites, just like this one, produced around similar numbers. And that's what it comes down to. So I think the most this thing made in a period of a year was probably like 4 or 5K in a month. If we go over here to months, the highest successful month here was $5,111.82. You could see here the next highest, most successful month was $4,405. And you can see it's still actually getting some attention. Once again, because those articles are up, they're getting attention, they're making money. But one thing I do is I never sell the actual SaaS. A lot of people don't understand this, is I never sell the actual SaaS. I might sell the traffic source, but I will never sell the actual SaaS. Now, what I've come to learn over time is that, honestly, even selling the traffic source is not worth it because the traffic source is the most important thing, okay? Excuse me, I said that the opposite way. Sometimes I might sell the SaaS, but I won't sell the traffic source. However, what I've come to learn is that selling the traffic source or the SaaS is just not valuable. You might as well just keep it all. I already shared my experience with trying to sell a SaaS before, Micro-SAAS that was generating for me about roughly 10K in revenue, maybe like 8.5K in profit. I already shared that story, and I won't be selling any SaaS pretty much ever. So you can kind of see how much customers average spend. Most customers gravitated towards the $100 product or the $125 product, and you can kind of see that here. And once again, it's pay once for the year, and every year you pay again to use it if you want. Total of 664 customers, relates to 62,995. So why am I showing this? I'm showing this to give you guys an average as to what I would make per SaaS product. Once a certain SaaS reaches a certain point, I don't need to keep promoting it. I don't need the income to go higher than it is. I'll just take my energy and go work on a different SaaS, okay? Work on a different product, work on a different blog, and then build that one up. Diversity is key. If something happens to one product where, it could get hacked, it could get taken down for whatever reason, it could have any sort of issue. Well, I have another site and another site and another site and so on and so forth. So over the last 8-9 years, I've been focusing on diversity. Now, not really the last 6 months, because the last 6 months I've been more focused on retirement, just relaxing. Haven't been doing nearly as much work. I'm really just focusing a little bit more on investing. However, this is just a perfect example of, right now we're in 2025. This was in 2019, to give you an example. So I've been doing this for a very long time. I've had businesses way before this even, but you get the point, right? So that's kind of the ideas how it was built. If you guys have questions, leave them in the comments down below, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, peace out. Bye.